Hello there everybody and welcome to some American Truck Simulator gameplay with me, Justice Fist. And in today's episode, we're going to take a ride in the Kenworth K-100 truck mod. Yeah, this truck mod is awesome. This thing's awesome. Look at this. Look at this. Just beautifully done. Top notch, in my opinion. As far as American Truck Simulator mods go, I don't think they get much better than this, man. This thing is great. Now, there's a number of people involved with its creation. I'll leave a link in the description where you can download this, and it'll have all the details there about the specifics about the mod and the names of those involved in its creation. But anyway, let's put that aside for a second. Let's get this thing rolling, man. Let's get it fired up, get her out on the road, and I'll talk some more about this. Now, first of all, our load. We have 14 tons of propane, and we're taking it from Redding, California to San Rafael, California. It's 213 miles, and it's about 4.5 hours game time. So, a nice short little run, and interesting load. I like these hazmat loads. You get a little bonus for delivering them undamaged and stuff like that. Now, as usual, I'm playing with a PS3 controller, and in combination with the Track IR. That's the way I like to play. I don't run the PS3 controller through Steam. I use a better DS3 and some Motion and Joy drivers. The reason for that is just the way I have it set up. It's the way I prefer to run it, but you know, it's a lot easier to get it set up directly through Steam if that's the kind of thing, if you want to play this with a gamepad, but that's not how I play. Anyway, I'm also playing with manual transmission, realistic air brakes, and realistic fuel burn. So, get as simulatory as we can here. Now, setup. Man, this thing is lots of setup options, man. Lots of different configurations you can have. I sort of have this one set up for heavy haul, even though we're not doing a heavy haul job here. You know, I like doing the heavy cargo pack jobs whenever I can, whenever they're reasonable, right? Like, not these really long hauls that take you 3 hours to do. Not so interested in that. Certainly not for a gameplay video, anyway. But yeah, so basically, you have two cab options with this one, just a plain one, and then you have the Aerodyne. I'm running it with the Aerodyne cab. Chassis, there's options with the chassis too. One in particular, you can get this really extra long, long frame chassis. It's really weird. You get this giant sleeper on it. I didn't go with that. I like the standard short chassis, 6x4. Engines. There's lots of engines for this thing too, but I went with the biggest, most powerful. As I said, it's set up for heavy cargo hauls. So I'm running the Cat 3406. It's a 600 horsepower, and of course transmissions. Eaton Fuller, obviously, 18 speed. That doesn't come with a retarder or anything though, so you're gonna hear me using the engine brake quite a bit. And yeah, that's it for the setup. Now, the mod itself, as I said, this is, I mean, as far as truck mods go in American Truck, my personal opinion is that this thing is as good as they get. I don't have a ton of experience with truck mods in ATS, but enough. And I don't bring a lot of these videos to my channel because there are so many mods out there that are just kind of hack jobs, you know what I mean? Like, they're just, I don't know if they're rushed or people or the mod authors aren't sure how to implement certain things, but you know, you get them with screwed up mirrors, or that they sound weird, or you know, there's always something that isn't right. This one is perfect in my opinion. Like, it's just, everything is great. It looks great, it drives great, it sounds great, everything works the way it should, and in my opinion that makes, you know, it's top notch, man. I could see this being in a vanilla game. It's that good. And what I really like about it, as I said, I play with a PS3 controller, and I play in manual transmission. And so this little computer here at the bottom left of the windshield is just perfect. I don't know what motivated them to put that there, or if that's a thing in the real truck. I don't know. But this thing is awesome because I love having a digital readout of my speed, first of all. But that aside, it's telling you what gear you're in nice big numbers too. Because if you're playing with a gamepad and you've got an 18-speed transmission, now you know with the gamepad you're going to have your transmission in sequential, right? So every click of the shift button goes up or down one gear. And when you're in, you know, cities or you know, high traffic areas where you're making lots of stops, lots of speed changes, Jeez, that was sloppy. Talking too much here. You're trying to count your gears, right? And anyway, for me, I have a tendency to lose count, right? Especially because I'll often, skip gears, do all odds or all evens or whatever, depending on the weight of the load that I'm carrying, right? So I quickly, I lose track of what gear I'm in. And certainly this wouldn't be a problem if you're using a wheel and a shifter, because, I mean, you put your hand on the shifter, you can tell what gear it's in by the position of the shifter, but you don't have that luxury when you're playing with a gamepad. And if you play with a gamepad, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So this thing is just perfect, man. It's just that extra little polish. I love it. It's awesome. It's awesome. Now, yeah, we're doing another early morning run here. We're going to get a sunrise soon. I don't usually like to post gameplay videos that are at night, but it is what it is, right? I mean, it was a perfect drive, I thought, to show you this thing. So, yeah. Okay, so we still have quite a bit of a drive to make here, so I thought I'd talk a little bit about Kenworth and about the truck. Now, again, I'm not really a connoisseur as far as trucks go, but I like to do a little bit of research and stuff like that when I make these videos, just for something to talk about in situations like this, right? So what the hell? Why not, right? No harm in it. So, now the K-100 itself, couldn't find a ton of information about it. What I did find is there's at least three variations of it, at least three that I could find a little bit of info about. There's the 100, the 100C, and the 100E. Now, according to this source here, and this isn't, I don't think this is an official source. Trying to remember where I got this information from. One second. Oh yes, okay, it was from the K100 forum. So connoisseurs, guys that have driven the truck, stuff like that. It's a forum, right, where you can post some knowledge, share some of your knowledge and stuff like that. But the 100C, what I found here was the 100C was originally released in 1968 and was sold until 1983, early 1984. And that's just the C. That's when, in 84, according to this source, the E model replaced the C. In 85 being the model year for the K100E. And improvements were like minor things, like, the use of fiberglass in some assemblies and stuff like that. Minor things. So, but from that point on, I'm not sure up to what year they made these. I'm not sure. I was kind of hard. Information was kind of scattered and patchy about these, but suffice to say, at least from 68 to 85 were the 100, the 100C, and then the 100E, and so they probably, I would imagine, they went right into the 90s, obviously, with these things. It's just with these cab overs, you don't see them a lot on the road anymore, at least not where I live here in Canada. When I was a kid growing up in the 90s, you saw cab overs all the time. Big cab overs were everywhere. They were just they were a thing, but they're not so much anymore. I'm not entirely sure why. I think I'd read somewhere that regulations about truck lengths and stuff like that had changed in the U.S., and that's why we started to see less and less cab overs now. It's just easier to have engine out front kind of thing. It's easier to access and easier for the driver to inspect and all of that. So I guess it has something to do with that. I don't know, but you really don't see these cab overs anymore. They're very rare, But anyway, Kenworth. I mean, it seems that a lot of research has been done about Kenworth. I mean, it has a very long history in the U.S., right? I mean, today it's like one of the leading semi-truck manufacturers, right? And they do all different types of heavy trucks too. But I mean, Kenworth and Peterbilt are the two main competing. It's like Ford and Chevy guys, or Chevy and Dodge guys. You know what I mean? You got your Kenworths and your Peterbilts, and guys that love either of those love them. There's just can't argue for one or the other. But so Kenworth, Peterbilt, they're the top dogs in North America, as far as I know. Certainly where I live here in Canada, that's mostly what you see. Kenworth and Peterbilt. But Kenworth, I mean, Kenworth can be traced all the way back to 1912, according to a source that I found here. 1912, like, you know, they've been around over 100 years now. At that time, it was called the Girlinger Motor Car Works, and basically because it was founded by two brothers, George and Louis Girlinger, and it was a car and truck dealership. And so how it sort of started as being a truck manufacturer was these two brothers, according to this source, decided to make their own truck in 1914. It was called the Gersix. Go figure, the Girlinger brothers, right? Or Girlinger brothers. So, I mean, you know, this is before the company was called Kenworth or anything. I mean, it's just two brothers, man, with a car dealership decided to start making their own trucks, you know? So where it sort of comes to be known as Kenworth is in 1917. The company was bought by two gentlemen, last names Worthington and Kent. And so, yeah, they bought this company in 1917. Sorry, bumped my microphone. And in 1923, they decided to call it the Kenworth Motor Company, Kenworth Motor Truck Company. So that's the combination of their names, right? Worthington and Kenworth, right? So, but they made mostly buses in the early days. They weren't really, like, they made trucks too, but mostly buses, you know. Especially by 1926 is when they really started making, like, just specializing in buses, and where they sort of got a reputation was, say, by around 1933, they were the only American company that offered diesel engines as standard in their trucks and buses. You know, now we're so used to, you know, all buses and trucks come with diesel engines. I mean, heavy-duty trucks, large buses, diesel, obviously. But apparently this is, the Kenworth made these diesel engines standard equipment in their trucks and buses. And that's sort of apparently a big deal according to the source. And I guess it would be. You know, it's something we take for granted nowadays, but, you know, I guess it wasn't a thing until Kenworth made it a thing. So, you know, and I mean, they kept doing this, you know, mostly buses, but trucks as well, diesel engine standard, until 1945, when the company was bought by a larger company, the Pacific Car and Foundry Company. Actually, I don't know if it's a larger company, but it was bought by a company called the Pacific Car and Foundry Company. Now, why this is important is because this is sort of where they slowly start to specialize in trucks, right? Because, I mean, up until this time, and moving forward too for the next few years, they were still mostly involved with the making of buses. And one of these sources here said too that these were not, like, their trucks, for example, were handmade. They weren't factory made in a large, like a Ford factory, you know what I mean? They were made by hand to order, you know, which again we take for granted the fact that, you know, you have these giant mechanized assembly lines that build these things now, but these things in the early days, they were made by hand to order. You had to wait till it was ready, you know what I mean? Like someone was building it. Yeah, so anyway, mainly making school buses and just regular transit buses. And it wasn't until in the 1950s that the Kenworth Motor Car Company really started to see a big increase in the number of truck orders. You know, again, they specialized in buses, wasn't really a thing. But in the 50s, the orders for trucks started to rise, and by 1956, and this is why the Pacific Car Foundry Company is important, because by 56, Kenworth had so many orders for trucks that they had to move the production of buses over to the Pacific Car and Foundry Company so that Kenworth Motor Company can focus strictly on making trucks. So, I mean, you know, mid to late 50s, they sort of began specializing in trucks, and that's how they became the company that we're familiar with now. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I think semi-trucks, you know, heavy-duty big rigs, I think Kenworth. And I'm a Kenworth fan, right? I think Kenworth and Peterbilt, they compete with each other. They're each other's main competition. But Kenworth, I have you know, I've worked with different companies that use trucks and stuff like that, and so the guys that I know that drive trucks, they swear by Kenworths. Kenworths just really nice trucks, you know, not just really reliable, but you know, just nice designs, and you know, what can I say, man? Everyone I know that drives big trucks, they love Kenworth, and I guess I just don't know any Peterbilt fans, but yeah. So there you have it, a very brief history of Kenworth. And we still have quite a bit of driving to do here, but I guess at this point, I'm out of stuff to say. I'm not just going to start going on about who knows what. There's about, what, 10 minutes left in this drive, man. I'll just leave you to it. So, thanks for joining me again. I will leave a link in the description where you can download this mod. As I said, this has the Justice Fist stamp of approval. This thing is awesome. I love it. I've been playing with this probably 3-4 weeks straight now. I haven't changed trucks. I've been loving this truck. But I think it's time. That's why I thought I better make a gameplay video about this and move on. But it's definitely staying in my mods folder. I love this one. Anyway, thanks again for joining me, everybody. I will catch you in the next one.